What you're about to hear is something that almost never happens in American politics. The Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court just publicly pushed back against President Donald Trump. Not a politician, not a journalist, not a rival candidate, the highest-ranking judge in America. And according to legal experts, this moment could mark the beginning of one of the biggest constitutional confrontations in modern U.S. history. Because the question is no longer whether Trump is testing the limits of presidential power. The question is whether America's system of checks and balances can survive the test. The story, it all started with a federal judge named James Boasberg. Judge Boasberg temporarily blocked part of the Trump administration's deportation efforts, triggering a fierce reaction from the president. Trump didn't simply criticize the ruling. He went much further. In a Truth Social post, Trump described Boasberg as a radical judge and openly called for his impeachment. That statement immediately sent shockwaves through Washington. Why? Because impeachment is traditionally reserved for judges accused of serious misconduct, corruption, or criminal behavior, not because a president disagrees with a legal ruling. For many legal scholars, Trump's comments crossed a line that American presidents rarely approach. But what happened next was even more remarkable. Roberts enters the fight. Chief Justice John Roberts released a rare public statement. Just a few sentences. But those few sentences carried enormous weight. Roberts reminded the country that for more than 2 centuries, impeachment has never been considered an appropriate response to disagreement with a judicial decision. Instead, he pointed to the normal appeals process, the mechanism designed by the Constitution to challenge court rulings. Now, Roberts is known for staying out of political battles. In fact, one of the defining features of his tenure has been his effort to protect the image of the Supreme Court as an independent institution. So when Roberts chooses to speak publicly, people pay attention. And when he speaks directly after a presidential attack on a federal judge, Washington notices. Why this is bigger than one case, this isn't really about one deportation case. It's about something much larger. The United States government operates on a simple principle: no branch of government gets unlimited power. Congress makes laws. The president enforces them. The courts determine whether those actions comply with the Constitution. That's the system. But critics argue that Trump's legal team is advancing an unusually expansive vision of presidential authority, particularly in areas like immigration, national security, and foreign affairs. Supporters see this as strong executive leadership. Opponents see it as a dangerous challenge to judicial oversight. And that is where the real conflict begins. The constitutional question at the center of this controversy is a fundamental question. Who gets the final word? Can courts place limits on presidential actions? Or can a president effectively operate beyond judicial review in certain areas? These questions are now moving through the federal court system. And eventually, many of them could land before the Supreme Court itself. That means the same institution now warning against attacks on judges may soon be asked to decide the limits of presidential power. The stakes couldn't be higher. Because whatever powers one president gains today may be inherited by every future president tomorrow. Conclusion: whether you're a Trump supporter or a Trump critic, this debate goes far beyond politics. It's about the structure of American government itself. The Roberts statement wasn't just a defense of one federal judge. It was a defense of the principle that courts must remain independent, even when their decisions are unpopular. Now the nation is watching. The White House, the federal courts, the Supreme Court, all moving toward what could become one of the most important constitutional showdowns of our generation. And the outcome may help define the future of presidential power in the United States for decades to come. What do you think? Is this a necessary defense of judicial independence, or another example of the courts interfering with elected leaders? Let me know in the comments below.